Yes, indeed. We got 45 laps slated for us here at Sonoma. We're going to be running the traditional layout that the Cup Series recently just went back to. They originally ran the not current, the old layout, that little horseshoe or carousel there you see in the middle of the screen. They went back to that for a couple of years, but they decided to go back to the traditional version that we are accustomed to seeing, and it's just a shy hair under 2 miles in length, so it's 89 total miles, but 45 laps, and there's no caution in tonight's race. So for the past on road courses, we used to have a competition caution right around halfway break, kind of like if you see the Arkham Menard series at these standalone events, they would have kind of like these stage cautions. We only have one in area, but new for season 3, no competition yellows, Connor.
You're going to have to be on your game. That means you're not going to get an opportunity to fix your car, really, if you get damaged. You're not going to get an opportunity to get back track position if you lose it. You have to be near perfect if you want a good finish. Going off track, hitting these hard tire barriers, or just completely going off track and not finding your way back on, you're not going to be able to recover from it. You have to be on your game tonight. You're not getting a free yellow to get you back in the game video.
Absolutely, and right on the cusp of that playoff marker is Danny Ware, really solid in the Truck Series last season, off to an okay start to kick things off for season 3 in the Cup side, only 2 points out. Garrett Grant also looking to have a bounce back for this season as well. Had a win get away from him back in season 2 at Nashville, so he wants to bounce back in a big way with his with the team that he's at, and switched over to Miller Racing, which teammate Travis Beckner already locked in, so maybe Beckner can teach Grant a thing or two about these road courses, Connor.
Yeah, I think that's for sure a possibility. A few names at the bottom of that leaderboard I'm looking at: Tom Borden and Seth Noel, especially Seth Noel. I know he has a lot of speed. I've seen it before. It seems whenever I race him in official or league races, I'm always trying to have to chase him. He's one of those drivers that is just so hard to pass and so hard to beat because he just knows where to put the car. Surprised to see him 20th, -9. I think obviously a long way to go before that becomes a big issue. He has one of the longer runs this season, longer runs in this session, trying to get the long run speed down. I expect him to be a threat in that one car.
Yeah, I was taking a look at the team standings real quick as well. Solar Racing at the top of the board, doing a really good job. Solid performance at the start of the season for them. Miller Racing and David Weishart Racing close in second and third.
Well, Miller Racing would have loved for the season to end after Daytona, because they would have been on top of the Cup owners standings. But Solar Flare Racing, we saw they were at the top virtually all throughout the season 2 in the Cup level. David Weishart Racing not too far behind, got a tie for 4th there with JBR, Jacob Bell Racing, and Lucky Duck Motorsports. And you got IRLC, Sky Motorsports, which was formerly known as Elwood Design Esports. Fazekas over there in 8th, Last Charter Racing in 9th. And then Keeping It Real Esports and Unacceptable Racing down towards the bottom.
Yeah, and as we... sorry to cut you out, Connor. And as we cut down to the track, just a quick weather update from Eric Wineland. Eric's going to be popping in and out of the boot as our pit race reporter. Eric, how's the weather out there?
Beautiful here in wine country, Finian. We're looking at 75, just before 75 degrees here. Ambient track was at 90 for majority of practice, but we're down to 89, and I expect that temperature to drop. It's 2:30, just past 2:30 here in the sim at Sonoma. Winds out of the west at about 9 miles an hour, so expect cooler track conditions here for the race and a little bit of gripped up, but reports on pit road already. Cold tires gonna be a problem, so watch this initial start of the race.
Yeah, absolutely. And Connor, as a driver, how do you deal with the cold tires? Obviously, we're not going to really be expecting a whole lot of cautions, as Hunter mentioned, without that rule of competition caution to kind of slow things down, allow these guys to get a free pit stop. How do you manage that as a driver?
You just got to be really careful. You're going to see drivers really probably trying to warm them up on the pace lap, but you still have to be really careful. Once you take that green flag, you're not going to be able to fire it into the corner up the hill like you want to. You have to be very careful. Any if you're, too harsh on that throttle, you're gonna probably go around or hit someone and take yourself out of race and many others. You gotta be careful. These tires on iRacing, on these cup cars especially, these next-gen cars, take so long to heat up to the point where we might see strategy where you're not going to take tires when you have to pit for fuel, because these tires just don't wear. Your lap times get better and better the longer you run on a set of tires, so you're gonna want to get them heated up. If you don't get them heated up, you're gonna be really in a bad spot. So that's the strategy I'm gonna look for tonight. I don't think you're gonna see people taking tires if they're smart. I don't think you're gonna see people taking tires when they have to make that green flag pit stop.
Taking a look here at Travis Beckner working his way around the track. Currently sitting third, looking pretty good. We were kind of expecting, looking based on the past, that Nichols and Scaiola would be the ones to potentially dominate as Beckner goes for a little bit of a spin. That's another thing I wanted to talk to you about, Hunter. We've seen in practice quite a few drivers spinning out. Not a whole lot of consistency. A lot of drivers even struggling to make long-term runs here in practice. Should we be concerned about how many guys are going to be able to make it home in one piece or without any big mistakes?
Well, it's really hard to get a handle of the next-gen car because, as we've seen in not only in the sim but in real life as well, as soon as you lose the rear of the car, that's all it takes to spin it out, and it's kind of hard to control it. So I think these guys are trying to push the limit because we still have qualifying yet to go. They're just trying to push the limit around the track, see how far they can go without the car losing it on its own. But like you mentioned, the top three, kind of the big three that we're going to be seeing here on these road courses, Jake Nichols, James Scaiola, and Travis Beckner. Beckner swept the road course races over in the truck side of things. And then last season, Jake Nichols won at Coda, and James Scaiola won the most recent road course, which was the Charlotte Roval. Those two combined for 67 laps led on road courses. Scaiola led the most on road courses, being 38 laps. And he also had the fastest lap at the Roval the last time they went on the road course of 1:19.279, just a second, well, about half a second behind Jake Nichols currently in practice. But Connor, less than a minute ago in qualifying, that could change dramatically.
It could change dramatically. One thing I think you alluded to, Hunter, is that we haven't really seen many drivers make any sort of long run. I had a few drivers do 10-lap averages. I believe Greg Mitchell in the 2 machine has the fastest 10-lap average. I believe only 8 have even made 10 laps in a row. So we'll see if Greg Mitchell can capitalize on that pace. Not too far up the sheets as far as hot lapping ability goes. He's 13th on the charts right now, but certainly looking good for the long run. One thing that we're going to have to look for on these long runs is how drivers tackle these curbs. One thing that you might be surprised to hear, curbs are an issue. They've been hitting them for as long as I can remember. Well, these next-gen cars, with the way they're usually planted to the bottom with the diffuser under the car and everything, you have to be very careful. We've seen so many drivers in practice already hit the turn 7 curb or the turn 4 curb, or even the exit curb at a turn 4, and have gone spinning. You have to be careful where you place your car.
Yeah, and you see right there, as Greg Mitchell just went over the curb in turn 1, you could hear the car, the engine sputter up and get loose here as qualifying just about to get underway. And we get ready to set our grid here. We got just over 40 cars, if I'm not mistaken, ready to take the grid. It's a huge field of cars, of course, being a road course, a nice big track for these guys to spread out in. And that's, I guess, another thing that's going to be a little bit interesting when we talk about that caution rule. The fact that you don't get a chance to bunch the field back up together again. Traffic is probably going to be an issue.
Yeah, without a doubt, it's going to be an issue. And the faster your car is, the more lap traffic you're going to encounter early on. And we could see that happen from either Nichols, Scaiola, or Beckner, because I'm not going to lie, those are the top three, I feel like, not only just in qualifying, but in the race as well. Those are the 3 drivers you're going to have to watch out for tonight, as that is Scaiola we're riding on board with, going downhill into the sharp turn. Now, in real life, they actually flattened out this curve, but in iRacing, they didn't, so that's why you see these guys would have to take a little bit of a wider approach through that corner, Connor.
Yeah, these sim drivers, that they wish that curb wasn't there. It upsets these next-gen cars so much, which is obviously why they took them out in real life, because so many drivers have issues over it. So something we'll have to look for. Could see a lot of chaos out of turn 4. Talking about these big 3, Scaiola and a few others, but one driver I think we're going to have to look at to potentially fight for the win is Aaron Smith II. He's always competitive. You can always tell where he's coming from. He's always in that bright yellow machine, no matter what league he's in. He looks good while doing it all the time. One of the road course aces that it's tough to keep up with him. So that 72 machine That would be my, I guess you could say, dark horse pick for the win, but I wouldn't say he's a dark horse. I think he's a legit contender tonight.
We'll see what he can do here as he comes across the line to start his lap, heading up through the S's of turns 1 and 2. And coming up over this crest. And this particular section of track is seen very treacherous on new cold tires. Guys getting up to speed because of all the undulation with the height difference, and then coming up and cresting over these corners can make these cars, especially as we mentioned already, some handling issues with just being the next gen car. But then you combine the fact just the characteristics of that first sector, it could also be very treacherous.
Indeed, and Aaron Smith was actually inside the top 5 for practice times just a moment ago. We'll see how he transitions that into qualifying. And fans, be sure to check out the Area iRacing Twitch channel and subscribe to it. It's only $5 a month, and you can watch all area broadcasts commercial free. You can also use the new Area iRacing emotes down in the chat, and as a subscriber, you'll earn double points, and you can use those points to redeem free merchandise. And one way to get more points is by betting the poll question down in the chat. Tonight's question is, how many drivers will finish on the lead lap tonight? Over or under 14.5? You can wager those channel points by typing !bet, and then wager as many as 10, or as little as 10, or as many as 1,000. That's !bet, and then the word over or under, and wager as little as 10 channel points and up to 1,000 channel points.
As first few sets of times are being put down, a great Smith from Aaron Smith, as Connor mentioned. Definitely a driver to look out for. Alban Chino currently at the top of the board. Travis Beckner coming across to finish his first time lap. Across the line for the 28. That's going to put him up in only 12th. Not probably the best qualifying effort he could have had. Jake Nichols, though, another guy we're looking out for, finishing near the top of the time sheets. Let's see where he ends up. It is up to second. Solid time for the 91.
Only 2 drivers sub-minute 15, and Nichols is one of them. Aaron Smith is coming around to finish his second lap. You're going to see a lot of drivers pick up on your second lap, their second lap, I believe. With the tires heating up, these cars get faster and faster. So expect almost everyone to put their hot lap on that second lap. Aaron Smith just went top of the board with a minute 14.462. So we're going to see a bunch of other drivers probably even get better than that mark than the 72 did. Scioli, I believe, might have went to the top of the board with a flying lap, 14.278.
Yeah, Alban Chino just came to put Aaron Smith back in second place. We have David Weiser coming across the line in 4th. Everyone coming quickly across the line. Looking at Travis Beckner here all the way down in 20th. We're looking at him potentially be up near the top of the board, at least in the top 5. Currently sitting way down below, but obviously it's the second lap that seems to count. And across the line for him, a little bit of a wiggle in the final turn. Going to clip the wall on exit, only up to 8th.
8th quickest for the 28, but come race time, it's going to be a different car and a different driver behind that car for Travis Beckner, currently 9th quickest. And now Jake Nichols completing lap number 2. And the number 91 car goes to the top of the charts, just barely getting in front of the 7 of Scioli.
By 15/1000ths of a second. Those are very important thousandths, though, between dirty air and clean air. That's the difference there. So Jake Nichols is going to have most likely the best view out the windshield. Still a few drivers to qualify. Actually, a number of drivers to qualify. Only 28 cars have put a time down, I believe. So plenty of time to go, but either way, the 91 is going to be pretty far out front to start this one.
Ooh, and Jordan Martin struggling. Ooh, and into the wall off of the S's, so he's going to have to reset his car. I think that might be qualifying it. It shows him on lap 2, so I think he might not be able to get a clean lap in, and that's a really important thing to do. It's so easy to get an off track here if you're not careful. Brandon 6 coming across the line in the 66. He'll be up in 15th. With that time, Jeff Ryan in the 37 working their way around the S's this time by for his second lap. First lap was not clean.
Just less than 4 minutes to go here in qualifying. 37 of Jeff Ryan had a really solid race with unacceptable racing over back in Daytona. Those guys were really fast. And in the second week, they kind of stumbled a little bit out of the gate from Chicagoland. Didn't really have a good run there. We'll see if he can bounce back over here. His previous lap was a 137, this time by It's a 119, and that's good for 30th on the board for Jeff Ryan.
Definitely not going to be too happy about that. Half a second off his practice time, so definitely room for improvement. It's a lot of ground to make up. You usually see in these league races, at least from our experience on Sim TV, you usually don't get big fields on road courses, but being early in the season, a lot of drivers trying to stay in the championship fight for their team or whatever, we have 40 cars who are going to start this one, which is something rarely seen. Even in official racing, it's rarely seen. So 40 drivers going up this hill and through the S's and into turn 7, it's going to be a pretty wild time. Definitely a time you want to have track position. You don't want to be sliding like this, like the 45 is right now.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate because his first lap, you could see he didn't even count in his first lap. That second lap, I think he might have gotten a 1X. I feel like that's safe to say, but he's going to continue on across the line. We'll see if he did get that 1X. Side and fight, and I'm sure he doesn't want to be starting all the way in the back of the field. There's 32 guys that have put a time down. Where will he end up? Will he end up with a clean time in? If not, it's a 118, so that's a pretty slow time in general. He's going to be back, and it did not count as well. So he's going to be back down the order. It looks like for the most part, most of the guys that did want to qualify have. 71 Douglas Newbegin, last guy out on the track, at least it seems, that is attempting to put down a time.
Newbegin, a part of Lucky Duck Motorsports over there. They're tied for 4th in the championship standings for the team side of things. Gabriel Ellison, Michael Sturgill Jr., and as mentioned, Aaron Smith in the 72. Part of that team, and it looks like he's just bringing it down pit road. So I think he only got 1 lap in, but I don't believe he'll get another one in.
Yeah, he didn't even have that first lap counting as well, so he's going to be also a driver starting in the back. Notably, Jordan Martin, Dwight Beaverly, Brandon Key, Kyle C., Alex Weaver, Dante Ballard, Chris Seidenfein we saw, and Brandon Zimmerman not putting down times. Some of them not due to lack of trying, just getting a 1X here and there. But I really want to point out as we look here at what's essentially the final qualifying results, top 4 only separated by 0.2 of a second.
Yeah, that's pretty close on a road course. I didn't expect it to be that close between the top 4. And looking down over outside the top 10, I'd say Beckner's probably going to pick it up during the race, but Nichols, Scioli, Balancino, and Aaron Smith, these guys, it might be a closer race up front than you think, and with no cautions coming out for any sort of, well, unless the server breaks like we had this past Thursday at Rockingham. Other than that, there will be no caution for incident, no comp yellows, none of that. So it's going to make racing for the win that much more tighter.
It's going to be a very important lap 1. You really don't want to get behind after having a bad initial start. You could lose a number of positions by making one fatal mistake. So Scioli, Balancino, Aaron Smith, they have to be on their game. They cannot lose any track position because with how hard it is to pass at these road courses, you might not get it back.
Yeah, it's always that's the big thing too, is that in pretty much most series I think that we covered here on Sim TV, pretty much everyone ran a competition caution just to kind of keep the field tight, in especially considering in real life we have the stage cautions. I think just to get a field close together, make the racing nice and tight. But now we're letting the race kind of run all natural, so we're just kind of letting the race run its course naturally. So we'll see how. Let's see how. We're going to do here is we got a slight warm-up period, and with that warm-up period, we'll just take a slight break just to get ready here for the race coming up. So we'll be back in about 4 to 5 minutes. All right, and we're back here for a gridding here. We have a 45-lap race up the road, but before that, let's go through your entire grid. 41 cars lining up here at Sonoma. As we mentioned, starting on pole, Jake Nichols in a close battle with James Scully, but is going to win out on that. Next to him, James Scully, as we mentioned, will be rolling off in second. In behind them, but very close on the timesheets as well, Alan Balancino in the 70 car. Aaron Smith, the second in the 72. Yeah, looking at row number 4. Then back in row number 5, Shane Abbey in the 12 car. Next to him, Dominic DeLeo in the 22. In behind them, Seth Noel in 11th, with Travis Beckner lined up in 12th. Yeah, not sure if there's an issue with that car. Ray Slate lining up in the 8 car. Next to him, Chris Rabel in the 29. Back in behind them, JT Poole in 19th and Jacob Bell in 20th. Garrett Grant going to be lining up in 25th in the 5 car. Ed Robertson in the 64 and 26. Andrew Player in the 13 27. Tyler Nichols in the 20th in the 41. And then behind them, Kyle Siege, Dwight Beaverly, Chris Seidenfein, Douglas Newbigging, Alex Weaver, Brandon Key, Delonte Ballard, Brandon Zimmerman, and Jordan Martin rounding out your field of 41 cars here. As we got the field coming out of the final corner and out of the hairpin. Field in control of the 91. And he's going to get off and away before they even make it through the final corner. He's ready to get going, and we are green here at Sonoma. Field making their way through turn 1 in one piece. No issues really to speak of. So clean racing, clean start, but very tight quarters up in the front of the field. Down the order, looking down the 24, Michael Curran trying to make a move on the 33 of Weishart.
About their race and just maybe survive and make up spots that way as we're about to go through the first lap.
Yeah, the field working the way.
Shane Abbey.
Oh, interesting to see a driver head to pit lane early. I'm curious actually what's the cause of this. I don't see any damage to the 12 machine as he's working his way around. Yeah, so not sure what caused this pit stop. Maybe an issue for the number 12 car. Working way off on the far side of the track, the 7 of Scioli and Balancino in behind, almost hitting the wall. How big of a risk is it for drivers hitting the wall as they head out of turn number 6?
Well, it's kind of a big part because that's the one wall you do not want to hit because that's an abrupt stop. And especially with how wide your car goes through that corner. If you get too wide, it's going to be tight trying to avoid hitting the wall. And then you also got to keep in mind that there are other drivers who did not go as wide, and you don't want to just door slam them because then that could be a recipe for disaster.
Looking at our top 4 here, who we expect to be moving on pretty well down the rest of the order here. Close battle here, Connor, between the 18 and the 1. Ooh, some taps and some bumps down the hairpin.
Yeah, hairpins where it can get pretty aggressive. It looked like Noel might have put a little bit of a protective line on Ricky Springer. Springer was having none of it, just shoved him out of the way. It's going to cost Noel a lot of time, not only the time, but the 11th position as well, as the one car surprisingly hasn't got through the field like I thought he would on this early start. He's actually gone backwards because of that move by the 18 machine.
Yeah, it started in 11th, back into 12th here as they come flying up and over the hill. I also wanted to note, too, one driver was looking at Alex Weaver has been on the move pretty quickly from the back of the order. Started 37th up to 12th.
Rafe Slate spun. That's the first incident I think we can speak of. That was out of turn number 4. Did not see if there was any contact, but just a little bit of a loop there.
See here on the Simrat Market replay, they just went over the curb and lost it. Rafe Slate into 8th. Driver for Fazekas Motorsports. They are low in the team standings to start out season 3, but they're going to want to have less of that and more of running up front there from Slate, who was close to cracking that top 10 early on, but that spin definitely does not help the team at all.
I also want to mention Michael Sturgill here started in 23rd down to 36, came through pit lane, just rolled on through, did not. It's actually not even showing him on the scoring for some reason. Had 11 seconds down pit lane. Not sure if he started from the pits or what the issue is there, but he's back on track though, very much down the order.
Yeah, I believe he might have even started from pit lane. Just looked up, saw him way behind. Looked like he was starting in lane.
Wow.
That was a little
Well, that's
bit
one thing you don't want to do, and that's running up front. That's Balancino and Smith. Take a look at a quick replay of that.
You can see right there, both of them taking very evasive action here, and I feel like at this point it's only a matter of time before we see someone go into that wall.
About as close as you can get without hitting it, if I had to guess. This is a pretty tight battling. That's 24th right now. The left Rafe Slate still trying to struggle. Might have hit up the tires too much. Tom Bourne, I think he's just swerving out of a way to let Alex Weaver through. Meanwhile, at the front, looking at that mean yellow machine, Aaron Smith, still trying to make up time. Top 4 have stayed put. Actually, the top 8 have stayed put. 1st through 8th have not moved at all. And then you get back to Dominic DeLeo, who's picked up 1 spot, 10th to 9th.
We got an update from the pits over with Eric One. And then what you got?
Hey guys, here's radio from Shane Abbey as far as why he was blinking at the start of the race.
I had a Discord stream on, and I guess that was enough for it to make it blink.
So Shane accidentally left a Discord stream running, and it took the resources away from his computer, and that got him all out of sorts with blinking. And also, Rafe Slate not happy with the curb. He said, "Don't touch that curb. Don't even look at it, and you'll be fine." But yeah, spinning off that turn 4A curb was not in the 8's plan. He's gonna have to recover from there.
No, just kidding.
Oh, and there's Aaron Smith spinning around.
Yeah, and well, we just saw in that corner, had a very close encounter earlier. Here, we'll take a look at the replay and see how he ended up in that situation. He was already off in the grass before heading down there.
Went too wide, hit the curb again. This time it actually hit the wall.
Yeah, that's going to hurt a lot more than Slate's spin did. That's a pretty hard crunch to the front end of these cars. These cars are pretty sturdy, but it actually doesn't look too bad from if you look at the 72 even now, but that's definitely not going to help his case. That takes him all the way from 4th way down the order. It might be about 15th now.
Yeah, currently sitting in 14th, and as far as so he didn't pit, so I guess that's the news that it's not too bad. And as you mentioned, yeah, it doesn't even look like he hit the wall at all. So I guess he got away with murder there. So we'll see how that's going to affect the car, how it's going to affect the handling, if it's going to be worse, and how he's going to approach this from now on, because that always is a really unfortunate, especially when you're competing for the win, Connor. You're up there fighting there, and then all of a sudden you have a spin putting you back, and as we mentioned, no caution, so you're not going to get a chance to reset.
Yeah, you just kind of got to regroup at that point. Your mindset completely changes. You were in the top 5. You might have had a shot at the win. Now your mindset's just kind of to survive. You drove it a little bit too hard, put yourself in a position. Now you just kind of got to make sure you don't overdo it. You're now at 14. You kind of just got to bide your time. You're all on your own. A little ways up the Brandon 6, among others. You just kind of got to get back in a groove that you once were in.
And speaking of groove, the front 2 are currently in the groove. Jake Nichols and James Skyley. They have about a second over 3rd place car, Alan Balancino, and looks like they haven't changed positions since we got through our Starting grid presented by Roasted Gems Coffee. Fans, be sure to visit Roasted Gems Coffee for some of the finest coffee from all over the world. Use discount code AREA iRacing for 10% off your order at roastedgemscoffee.com.
Yeah, taking a look at the leaders, cresting over the hill, all still very close together. And one driver who's mentioned, we didn't really even talk about him being a potential factor. This 24 car, Connor, is starting to look pretty good. Michael Curran.
Yeah, obviously benefit of the spin by the 72. He's gained 2 positions, 6th to 4th, which is, if you look at the other drivers at the front, pretty impressive that he's even gained any spots, but looking sharp. Fast times on the timesheet right now. He's actually the fastest car out of anyone else in the top 4 last time by. So really good times down. Lap 7 here. See if the tires can keep up with him.
And there's Travis Beckner over here in the back. He started outside the top 10 over in 12th. He's made his way back inside the top 10. Currently 8th quickest. Sent in a little hot over there on the 2 of Greg Mitchell. Gonna lock things up, but the 28 of Beckner seems to be slowly firing on all cylinders, moving his way inside the top 10.
Slow and steady progress for the 28. Also in behind Ricky Springer, the 18. We saw him getting a little bit physical with the one of Seth Noel, who's still in behind him, but moving drivers out of the way. It's been helping him, though. He's up 5 spots from starting in 14th and trying to make that up 6 here if he can find a way past Beckner.
He's actually one of the biggest movers with +5 from the start of the race, if not the biggest mover. Ed Robinson's had gained 6 spots, but I think he's just falling back. Alex Weaver's gained 13, 36th to 22nd. It's 14 now. But as far as guys up front, Ricky Springer's on the move. Like you said, getting physical, but making it work. That's probably the cleanest bump and run you'll see, which he did on Seth Noel. Right now, he's got a little bit of a long
Oh, Mitchell!
That was huge. Mitchell's still trying to sort it out. As they're side by side behind him, he's gonna get it back going straight before the rest of the top 10 comes at him here. That was pretty crazy.
Yeah, we're already starting to see some handling issues from the guys. Let's watch on board.
It's just a curb thing, no? Just on the gas too early. Tried to gas it up big time and had to do a little bit of off-roading. It's the right place to do it in Sonoma. Good job keeping it straight.
Yeah, now they're still battling for that position over there in 7th. Beckner looks like he's taking the spot away from Ricky Springer, as here is Dom DeLeo coming down pit road for an early pit stop.
Yeah, interesting seeing this play out. I'm curious if this is on strategy. I wouldn't think so. Feels a little bit early, only lap 9. Maybe he's just trying to just get fresh tires and use those to his advantage, or something else is going on with the 22 machine.
Yeah, we'll have to see for sure. I would imagine he'd be barking if he was running high up. It looks like he just took gas, no tires. We were talking about that in pre-race, though. With the way these tires are, they don't wear, they just heat up and they get faster and faster. So my only guess is that maybe he thinks he can make it to the end from here and he's getting a head start, but that's a long way to go. I don't know if he can make it 36 on the tank.
That will be interesting to see. We're back. Battle for 7th still raging on between Travis Beckner and Ricky Springer. These two had a little exchange with each other after Chicagoland last week, but it seems like they have put those differences aside, as Springer looking like he's going to send it just a tad on 28 of Beckner and might give him a little tap.
Yeah, Springer looks like he loves to just throw it into the hairpin. Almost looked like he was about to give the 28 another bump. I'm just curious to see if these have truly buried the hatchet. You know, some drivers may say, oh, everything's good, fine and dandy, but usually, a lot of times it isn't the case. It's always some lingering tension there. In some cases, all you need is just a little bit of a spark to ignite it. Speaking of a spark, here's this battle going on. Seth Noel, Matthew Bell, side by side, potentially almost in turn 3.
Got another hitter. Tom Bourne had a crash, missed that. It was from 25th, so he's probably out of a race. And Chris Rabel, he was around 16th position last time by, so even 14th. So this clearly must be strategy. People think they can make it to the end and they want to get it over with, but I would rather run the fuel this run to the end and then do it. But Rabel, among others, trying to make it work and go to the end from here. We'll see how that works out for some of these drivers doing that.
Yeah, we'll have to see from Eric Weiland whenever he comes back from pit road if fuel only is the way to go for some of these guys in order to try and get track position in the later stages of the race. But right now, with 35 laps to go, it's still Jake Nichols in front, James Scioli in second, We shuffle throughout the field here. Oh, there was Aaron Smith coming down pit road, and cones are all over the place down the entry to pit road.
Springer's in as well.
Okay, so starting to see, it looks like we're starting to see some green flag pit stops here. So some guys coming in a little bit earlier, I think, than some others would be expecting. It's been a slow trickle down a pit lane, so different calls for some drivers out there. So it's kind of one of those things where, you know, someone is bound to be right in this entire field. We're not just exactly sure who that's going to be, and it's a little too early to tell.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Still, I'm just surprised by it. We did a league race. I did a league race last Monday at the Roval, and it seemed like running long as the fuel can go was the move. The longer you go on fuel, the better you are off the track position. So we'll see if that's what the leaders want to do, or if we might see Nichols, Scioli, or a few others in the top 10 try the same strategy, pit now and just run to the end. So it's going to be a tale of two strategies if I had to guess from to the end here.
Ryan Hart's running in the 6th spot. He had a little kabobble there going through the hairpin in practice. He actually hit those tire barriers that act as sort of like a, hey, you can't go this way, otherwise you're cutting. He hit that one right there. They just passed in the middle. So it seems like he's gotten that out of the way. He's the only car that I've seen that's hit that. But he's still running 6th, has a solid run going. Travis Beckner slowly closing in on the 3 car.
Yeah, I wanted to point him out too because he had a wild spin in the background of one of the shots. I saw him going flying off the track. I think it was just before the 2 had an off-track excursion in the S's. He almost went flying off the turn 7 when spinning towards the inside wall. Managed to collect and save as he goes a little bit off the track over the hill there just as they come to turn 4. Down to the hairpin they go. Still a little close battle in behind the Matthew Bell and Seth Noel still trying to sort out who's the better of the two. They've been back and forth for quite a few laps now.
Oh, whoa, Valentino he just lost a lot of time. Jonathan Cogswell was in the way there. Valentino's locking up a little bit there. A little bit of a closer battle for third than Valentino wanted.
Take a look and see what happened to the 70. Something did happen recently. Was it something recently or just was losing time?
It's going to be a little bit further down past the S's, I think you'll see here. Cogswell just got a little bit too in the way. Valentino's still battling, but he's got third position for now. Let's see what comes through here. See if it shows.
Oh.
Right here. Oh, he already was off track and rejoined unsafely big time. That could have been way worse than it actually was.
That was Jonathan Cogswell in the 26 here as he come back live. So lost a little bit of time to the leaders, not a whole lot. Still 2.5 seconds close.
Got an update from Eric Weiland over in the pits. Eric, what you got?
Hey guys, so these pit stops are planned. Here's some radio from Dom DeLeo, Alan Valentino, and Ricky Springer. These guys talking about pit stops and strategy.
My pit stop could not have worked out any better. I'm like around no one.
Can we make it on fuel from here?
Yep.
So these guys already thinking ahead. Dom DeLeo wanted clean track. He got clean track. See if he can take advantage of it.
And currently actually back out in behind the 7-2 of Aaron Smith, who's already come down to the pit. So both of them on a similar strategy, leading those of the guys that came in early just for fuel only. Ricky Springer currently sitting in 17th.
Yeah, that is one advantage that I'm sure you could get out of it. Put yourself in clean air, no doubt about it. One thing, I would say Jake Nichols is in clean air, but he's not. He's actually having to go through a few lap cars. Delonte Ballard, Michael Sturgill are up the road not too far away. Sturgill spun in that left rear seat better days. So clean air, never thought about doing that at Sonoma, but you could see how key track position is for this 91. The 7 seems like he always has a little bit of a shot at the 91's bumper, maybe looking a little faster, but that 30 air, it just keeps him just far enough away that the 7 can't make a move.
Yeah, just looking at Jacob Elta overtaking Dwayne Culberson as he come back to the leaders. Yeah, no, when Eric Weiland was in the booth talking, saw them encounter some traffic, got pretty close, nose to tail. Oh, and a bit of a lockup for the 91. And Jake Nichols going to run a little bit wide. Skyly looking up the inside, almost tagged the 91.
Close one. That's where the 7, Scioli, you see a little bit of a mistake like that, you got to jump all over it and take advantage. You cannot waste those opportunities with how hard it's been to pass. These top two separating themselves from Valentino and Curhan just a little bit. You got 1, 2, and then 3, 4, and then about 4 to 5 more seconds back to Weishart in 33.
Yeah, top 4 really starting to separate themselves from the rest of the competition. Looking a little further back, here's the 9 of Matthew Bell, the one that set them up. These guys have not stayed off each other since the drop of the green flag. Seems like they're always bumper to bumper battling. This time in the 9th position, round on board Bell. Big tap there to the bumper of Noel. And we'll see how this carries over into the next couple of corners.
Yeah, I saw a change. I saw the ticker flash green and red, so that there was an exchange of position between these two, and it looks like Bell getting a little bit sick of the one being in front of him. As you saw with that, just a little bit of a nudge.
I think it actually was Noel who took the spot away. Noel actually did it down the front straightaway and into turn 1 to get the job done. So we should see Noel, who was already looking a little bit faster than that 9 machine of Bell, should see him maybe get closer to the 2 of Greg Mitchell. Greg Mitchell had that slide off, and he's gotten only a little bit better from here. He's pulled away from Noel and Bell, and he's still trying to set his sights. Oh, here goes Seth Noel. He's getting punted around by Matthew Bell. Maybe there was bad blood between those two. The one's gone around.
Take a look at the replay. Just as we turn away, some action comes down on the track. Let's look off the back of the one. Hunter?
Just cruising into the turn, and it looks like Matthew Bell coming in too hot. And then dumps the one at Seth Noel.
I'm curious if this is malicious, or it looks like he just might have gone in a little too hot.
He said on the radio, wheel hop. From Seth Noel's response, I don't think he's buying it. That's the second time that one's been hit in that hairpin. And I can't blame him for being mad. He got the job done cleanly and just kind of got turned around a lap later. I'd be mad if I was him too.
Yeah, see if Seth Noel is going to be driving a little bit hot under the hood. I think I definitely would be after an incident like that. So we'll see if he catches back up to the 9. What happens with that situation? Some more drivers hitting pit lane. Garrett Grant in the 5 machine is making his trip on pit lane. Running around the midfield. This year was running around 20th, I think, before he came in for his service. So still yet to see majority of the field come on down. Jake Nichols, James Scioli. This is going to be interesting to see which one of these two pits first. As a lap car gets in the way of the 41, that's a teammate. He's slow off of turn 1. That allowed Scioli to get very close.
Yeah, Garrett Grant in pit. He actually took tires, among others, who are fuel only. Nichols having to get around more lap car. Scioli's gone into the back of Danny Ware there. I don't think it damaged the 7 machine, but that was very close, very tight. Not as close as you want to get to a lap car. And Danny Ware severely slowed down Valentino in the 70, as the 70 will finally get by. Down to pit road. Eric, what do you have?
Hey guys, big problem here for one of the drivers on pit road. The 21 of Delonte Ballard just missed his pit stall, and he couldn't back up. He's going to have to drive through pit road and come all the way back around the track and then come back down and make his service. Forgot he did not qualify very well and had an early pit stall and drove right on by.
Yeah, looking to be a day to forget for the 21 of Delonte Ballard. Started in 39th, currently in 32nd, as Eric mentioned, is going to have to come back down again, Hunter.
Yeah, that is unfortunate. I guess he doesn't have reverse either, or if he just completely drove right by it. But saw that little skirmish there up front with the 41. It's actually Tyler Nichols. That's the brother of Jake Nichols. So I'm not sure what that was doing. But, you know, it's tight around these corners. Not really much lap traffic can go other than just running the lane that they're supposed to run. And it almost costed Jake Nichols the lead. Valentino caught up for just a glimpse, and he's still about a second behind James Scioli. But these top 4 still going as the 7 looked to send it on the 91, and there's a lap car moving out of the way.
That was 81 of Dwayne Culberson, teammate to the 91, another teammate, so he was able to get out of the way, not slow down Jake Nichols any. And Connor, what are you thinking with when it comes to strategy, just between these two? If you're Scioli, do you want to be the first one to be down pit road, or is it better to maybe wait out there a little bit longer?
I think you're going until the fuel cannot go another full lap if I'm Scioli. I understand maybe you want clean air if you were trying to pit earlier than him, but there's no guarantee you're going to get clean air. This field's very spread out. You have I believe you still have 36 cars on track running. So you're going to be lucky if you get a pocket of clean air, even if you pit right now or even a lap before the 91. So my strategy would be, I don't want to follow on pit road, but if that happens, so be it. You really just want to run the fuel to the end if I was Jake Nichols or even a 7 of Scioli.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see when those guys pit and those that have already spun out on the track. I mean, I know tire wear isn't that big of an issue here with the next gen car, but if you've already spun out once or even twice, do you contemplate taking tires?
Yeah, that's the interesting thing, right? Because you obviously...
Oh, crap. Sorry, crashed. Dante Ballard has crashed into a tire barrier.
Oh, right there. Right
there.
in front of the leaders. It's another teammate to Jake Nichols, the 21 of Delonte Ballard, new addition to Solar Flare Racing. And looks like he lost it up in front. No, he lost it right there. Take a look at it from the Simrat Market replay.
Yeah, working his way through the S's and up and over the curves that upset the car. Yeah, that was the curb jump that already put him offline into the marbles. You know, slow, lazy spin around and into the tire barriers he went.
That was right in front of Chris Rabel as well, the 29, who's running 23rd, one of those early stoppers in this race. That will mess up the strategy a little bit if you were to run into him, but he got on the binders, slowed down just enough, and he's good to go. Not a lot of attrition so far today. 3 retirements. Brandon Zimmerman was the first out. Tom Bourne and Jonathan Cogswell soon followed suit.
And Delonte Ballard currently finds himself 35th on the leaderboard, 2 laps down. And once again, that replay was brought to you by Simrap Market. Fans, be sure to check out simrapmarket.com for custom iRacing paint scheme templates that are simple to use and help you stay more focused on the racetrack.
Dom DeLeo and the 61 on Bronson Stafford duking out his battle for 16th occurring in the hairpin. As they come out in the 22, remember he's already made his pit stop, so theoretically he should be good, or if not close to go till the end of the race. Really just have to find out and see, as he's trying to work his way back up to the order. Starting to down to 16th, considering the fact he's already made a pit stop, that's looking pretty good for the 22.
And a similar situation for Aaron Smith, Ricky Springer. They're running about 2 seconds apart, 13th and 14th. They are relatively cleaner air than the leaders as Springer gets by Garrett Grant. Aaron Smith last time by trying to compare his times, a minute 14.3. Jake Nichols, a very similar lap, only 100th slower. Same for Scioli and the rest of the leaders. So obviously it depends on where you catch the traffic. Maybe 13th and 14th won't catch as much traffic as Aaron Smith goes wide on the exit of the S's. That was a close one. Make mistakes like that, you definitely won't have a shot if you're a 72, but I just not looking at like much of an advantage to pit early, as Aaron Smith almost got completely blocked there into the hairpin as we still ride on Brandon Six, who's, I don't believe he's made up his spot, but he has gained 5 spots into the top 10 so far, still trying to chase down Greg Mitchell.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know how I feel about pitting early. I mean, if you can make it on fuel, then that's fine, but I don't really see an advantage with pitting that early, especially with Dom DeLeo. There's no competition caution, but speaking of competition, lap cars in front of the competition, some of them are locking up and nearly getting into the tire barriers or just moving out of the way. Boy, it's getting tight up here for the lead as Scioli trying to, once again, find a way around the 91 of Jake Nichols.
Yeah, I think the 51, that was Mark Patterson that really slowed down in the hairpin, and somehow the leaders make their way on through. Although it's still not done yet, still some more lap cars to work through here, and Scioli, this could be a chance for him.
There was nothing Patterson could do there. Mark Patterson's actually broke the left front wheel completely. He's gone into the tire barrier and reset. So that's likely going to be day done for him with all the damage the tire barrier and the hairpin did, as the leaders still very close to each other in this battle.
Yeah, and closing in is the 70 of Balanchino after all this chaos that's ensuing around the front 3, even front 4 with Curran in the back. Balanchino slowly making his way, nearly getting into the 29 there, Chris Rabel, but other than that, he's still working his way on catching up to Scioli and Nichols.
Yeah, looking like they're starting to separate out just a little bit. Now they got through the thick of that traffic. That went a lot better than I thought it was going to, considering how many cars were involved. And then you see the 8. This Rafe Slate has not been a good day for him. We saw him up close to the top 10, was battling it out, and he's been slowly dropping down the order. He's currently back in 22nd. He has made a pit stop, so that's kind of also put him back there. But Probably could be a little bit better. He's also about to go lap down here from Jake Nichols trying to get by him.
Hasn't really been not really giving him any room either. It looks like maybe he'll let him by around the outside, but not really yielding like I thought he would. In the 22nd position, this is about the time when some of these lap cars are not going to be as friendly as he really didn't give the 7 of Scioli any room. He's really going to check up Valentino in 3rd. So at least they barely got out of the way there. Speaking of these, talking about these leaders, 4th place, Michael Kerhan, he has slipped off a little bit. 2 seconds off this top 3. Now is Weishart in 5th, even further back now, 8 seconds. So the top 3 are starting to separate themselves from 4th place even now.
Well, interesting to note, Valentino and Slate are teammates for Fazikis Motorsports, so maybe that's a reason why he was not hesitant of moving out of the way of Nichols or Scioli. And, oh, 70 car, that's my teammate. Oh, here you go. You can go right by. So maybe that had a little something to do with it. Nonetheless, it's still about 8 to 9 car lengths between Scioli and Valentino as we work our way around the field and back up front to 7. Once again, it's always on the bumper of the 91, just can't seem to find a way to pass him. He had an opening there quite a few laps ago coming out of that hairpin, but he had to back off, otherwise he was going to make contact with the 91, and I don't think that's something you want to do this early on, making contact with one of the contenders for the win here.
Yeah, I'm curious what Scioli is doing, because he's been presented a few opportunities. He makes some kind of, I wouldn't say half-hearted attempts. He's had a few lucks here and there, but hasn't made a solid attempt at trying to get past the 91. So I'm curious if he's just waiting for maybe pit stops to occur and seeing if he get past him on pit road rather than trying to muscle around him on the track. But he's definitely kept extremely close to the 91. And in fact, we just mentioned the top 4, top 3, no one's dropped outside of 5 seconds. So this battle for the lead has been very close all race long. And it's just been, for the most part, it just seems like they've been kind of pacing themselves here and just trying to work their way on through the field.
Oh, as soon as you said pit stops, Eric Weiland just came in. Update, Eric?
Yeah, guys, here's radio from the 91 team.
Yeah, I'll probably just wait as long as I can, fuel.
Jake Nichols planning to run it long, but he did also say just after that he's looking for clean air when he comes off pit road. So guys that made the early stops, they got some clean air. They're trying to capitalize on it, but leaders also thinking about it where they can work out. They just have to maneuver lap traffic here initially. I expect Jake Nichols and James Scioli and company not too long from now as Danny Ware is off the right-hand side of the road right there. But got about 20 laps to go here, 21 to go as they cross the line, and they can go about 37 on fuel, guys. So they can run it real close to the end, but they do need to make this stop. It's just a matter of when the best time is.
Yeah, appreciate that update, Eric, here as we work now on lap 25, just past halfway. Race starting to tick by, get into its later stages, and I imagine you're going to see the battle for the lead get a little bit more ferocious. From now, it's been just a matter of ticking off some of the laps. Now, I imagine the battle is going to heat up. Scioli's been working really hard this entire race. Can't imagine he's going to give this up easily.
No doubt about it. He's going to try to do anything he can to put the 91 off a little bit. Quick update, Danny Ware at pit. He actually crashed out of pit lane, so that's why he had that left front damage. That's why he was just taking a little bit of a joyride as the leaders went by. So unfortunate for him. Just waiting to see what the 7 wants to do as far as passing. You guys were talking about how he hasn't really made an attempt to pass legitimately, but that's really because he hasn't really been in position. He doesn't want to dive bomb the 91. He wants to have an opportunity, make an opportunity for himself, and then have a chance at it. He doesn't want to dive bomb the 91 like he's come close to doing in the hairpin. He's just getting to a bumper, trying to get the right amount of run on that 91 to have any sort of opportunity, but he just hasn't been able to get the opportunity yet, even through lap traffic.
With 20 laps to go, the battle for the lead is still heating up, which is presented by Rick's Hot Sauce. Fans, be sure to check out Rick's Hot Sauce for some of the best hot sauces made locally in South Florida. Be sure to follow Rick's Hot Sauce Rookie of the Year battle in the Area Cup Series and see who will take home the $100 prize as the highest finishing rookie in the point standings. To purchase some Rick's Hot Sauce, more importantly, the South Beach Heat. Now, number 7, James Scioli had that paint scheme run all throughout last season in the Lodge Box Series. Be sure to check out rickshotsauce.com. As mentioned, he is still battling for the lead, and he had that iconic South Beach Heat, the purple and blue and black number 7 over the Lodge Box side of things, and now he's got the new colors on the 7 all over the bumper of the purple 91 of Jake Nichols.
Yeah, I'm currently over the back of the 91, as you mentioned, going off into turn 1. Also wanted to note that the 2, Greg Mitchell's come down to complete his stop, put back in 15th in behind Dom DeLeo. That's where he's kind of cycled out. So starting to see more and more takers. About half the field has come in and made their stop, still waiting on the other half. No one in the top 11 has come in just yet. And after Aaron Smith, there's a few others, as I mentioned, Ricky Springer, DeLeo, Mitchell. Bell's still yet to come in, Abby, Weaver's still yet to come in, and then pretty much everyone after that has made their stop. So matter now is really coming down to when do the leaders, the guys who've been up in front all day long, when do they make their pit stop here as we dip under 20 laps to go?
Have to wait and see. Just not quite sure what some of these drivers are waiting for. You'd think Curhan or Weishart, other drivers like that, would maybe want to try something different in case they want to have some sort of outside chance at the win. Someone like Weishart, I don't know even if he can do anything at this point. Kind of just got to hope something happens. Trying to look through the field, see who else is close. Obviously, 91 and 7 have been nose to tail all race long. Valentino's starting to fall off these top two just a little bit.
Oh, that's Newbigging in the 71 going a bit wide off the track. Now back on the track. There's a little scare there. Right around Seth Noel running in the 10th spot.
Yeah, Robertson just got past the 71 as he went for a little bit off-track excursion. I was going to Seth Noel. He's in one of the more closer battles, other than the battle for the lead that we've been watching pretty much the majority of this race, trying to chase down the 66 of Brandon Six, currently running in 9th place.
We'll see if he can hold on to that spot. I wouldn't be too optimistic for him, though. He's got a very angry Seth Noel behind him after getting the boot from the 9 of Matthew Bell. That one machine's running decent laps, but Matthew Bell's still obviously pulling away.
Almost got.
Speaking of Matthew Bell, that was Dwight Beverly who almost ran into him. Beverly 10 laps down. He just got back on track, I believe, and had an off track right in front of a few of those guys. That was almost disastrous.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened to him here. Had a bit of flash.
He's retired from the race almost immediately after that incident as well.
Yeah, it looks
Seems like the connection issues might have had something to do with it.
Oh, whew. Genuinely amazed you didn't pit maneuver the 9 there. You got that was very fortunate for the 9.
Whoa! Contact for the lead. Nichols did not get up the hill very well, and Scioli ran into the back of him. Don't think that was intentional, but that made the 7 lose a ton of time.
Yeah, Alan Ballacino trying to chase him on down here. We'll try to take a quick replay before any other draw happens between these two. Here's a look at it back in turn 1.
Right there. Oh, yeah, slight contact there. Unfortunate that didn't spin around the 91. Otherwise, that could have gone south real quick. Instead, it's reeled in the 70 of Balancino once again. The 7's lost quite a bit of ground. He was virtually on the bumper of the 91 the entire time. Now he's about half a second back.
Battle for the lead starting to heat up, hitting up a little bit more than I thought it was earlier on. But James Scioli feeling he's past 91, a little bit of a tap. Although that almost went worse off for the 7. It looked like he was a lot looser as he goes flying into the hairpin.
Here comes Balancino. This is the first move from one of these leaders. Balancino in the 70s going to pit with about 16 laps to go, trying to find that pocket of clean air to maybe take the win away from the 91 and 7.
Well, we're going to have to keep an eye on that because I believe the top 11 that hasn't pitted yet, Aaron Smith, correct me if I'm wrong, is the first car that has pitted or that is good to go on fuel. We'll have to look at where he comes out. With the 70 Balancino, we'll have to see where he comes out in comparison to the 72 of Aaron Smith. And speaking of pit road, Eric Weiland, what you got for us?
The guy's standing right down here at the 70 pit box, no tires, just fuel. You heard him on the motor right there. He was ready to jack to drop and get back out. He's cleaning away. Looks like a decent section of clean track right here. He's going to get out ahead of the 81 of Dwayne Culberson. Jake Nichols' teammate there, so good move for the 70. He's the first to make the flinch here as the leaders. We'll watch Nichols and Scioli see when they choose to come down next.
That's interesting because there's a 17-second difference between the 70 Balancino and the 72 of Aaron Smith. And we all know that Dom DeLeo was one of the first guys to pit early and was good to go on fuel. I'm not sure how he feels about that call now after one of the drivers inside the top 11 came down pit road and is still in front of two other cars who have yet to pit.
Yeah, it looks like that strategy might not be playing out as well as they would have hoped. I think them just trying to get some clean air earlier on, but again, let's still see where the rest of the order sorts themselves out here as the leaders still battling. 91 in the 7, not answering the call of the 70 coming down pit lane. No one else, in fact, has responded to Balachino's pit. Everyone continuing on their own strategy. I think they all have a plan. Pit as the 4 gets in the way. Weaver pulls out, and here comes the 7 around the outside.
It's a battle for the lead. One thing we kind of missed, I believe, Brandon 6 and Seth Noel went side by side into the hairpin. They didn't make it to the hairpin though. Contact before pit entry. The 66 hit the end of a pit wall extremely hard, so the 66 was running 9th. He is out of a race. Meanwhile, this battle for the lead still raging on. They're going to go past the scene of the wreck now as they come up on more lap traffic. Michael Sturgill. Here comes the 7 of Scioli. Here's the move.
Cones continue to fly as he tries to get onto pit road, and it's not until right there. They have to be at pit road speed. But we'll assume that it's just a simple gas and go that we've seen everybody else make all night long, and that could be the bell for Jake Nichols to come down pit road and top her off with fuel.
It's going to be a big thing. I'm curious to see if Nichols is going to want to do that just to kind of cover off. And that's why I was kind of expecting the other two to respond a little earlier, just to cover off the 70 of Balachino and not make sure he doesn't get a one up. Here comes Ryan Hartz, Travis Beckner, both teammates coming down a pit lane at the same time as well. So more and more is starting to trickle on down.
7's going to come out right in front of Garrett Grant, a lap car. He comes out ahead of Matthew Bell, who I don't think is pit yet either, if I'm not mistaken. I'm trying to see. He's been involved in almost 3 incidents. Yeah, the 9 hasn't pit, so it's pretty bad for him. The other guys like Aaron Smith, who's already pit, well behind. You see how big of a gap those top 3 got with how big of a gap the 7 has over some of these other guys who've already pit.
Jake Nichols going to stay out. So interesting to see the 91 continue to roll on through as Jacob Bell made his way down pit road. Now the 24 Michael Kern running in second. The 33 of Weishart. Seems like this happens once a race, no matter what race he does. He's running in third in the 33 car. And then James Scioli 27 seconds back from Jake Nichols. That's going to be important to keep an eye on with how the 91 of Jake Nichols gets on and off pit road.
Yeah, big thing too was for Scioli getting ahead of Balachino by a sizable margin, actually. It looked like he was able to expand the lead, and it looks like, 41's around.
Oh, that's brother Tyler over there spinning and parking it and backing it up and getting it going again.
Back where Gilligan's Island used to be, if anyone remembers that. Where there used to be, what was it, 4 or 5 pit stalls that were?
9.
9? Oh, there were 9 there? Oh, wow.
9 pit stalls, and you'd get held however long. It was not a fun time. That bunch of drivers who qualified. Drivers who qualified probably 32nd to 40th. They're glad that A, those aren't a thing, and B, you don't have to select those pits. As that would not be something you want to do. Eric, what do you have?
Coming this time is the 91 car. Here he comes. He's on the entryway to pit road. We'll see how he works his way through here. Looks pretty clean for the 91. I'll call the stop here for you guys. The discussion on team radio was all about what Alan Balachino was doing for lap times. Alan being the first one to flinch, as we noted on the broadcast, the first one to come down pit road. He's currently running 1 minute 14.0s to 0.1s. And that had Jake Nichols a little worried with those lap times. Here he comes into the stall. R91 just going to be fuel only here, according to the radio. Just enough fuel to get to the end with just 12 laps remaining. Down and away cleanly. We'll see where he merges here, guys, on pit exit. Looks pretty good for the 91.
Here comes the 7 of Scioli, though. It's going to get tight. Picking up right where we left off.
Exactly, as you mentioned that. I was curious to note, Scioli and Balachino, there's about a 2-second difference in pit lane time, and actually 2-second difference in the stall. 7.3 for Scioli, a 9-second stop for Balachino. I think maybe the 70 might have taken too much fuel. Jake Nichols, 6.3 in the stop, although it doesn't look like he gained him that much time as the 7. You can see him, he's on it, trying to catch the 91.
Hey guys, the 91 was 1 second faster on pit lane, and that mostly came down to his stop time. He had a second less time spent stationary in his pit stall than the 7.
24, Michael Curran down in pit lane to get his stop out of the way after, and going to be surrendering the lead with doing so. Weishart going to continue out of the track.
Weishart, unfortunately for him, actually, excuse me, not fortunately for him, he will keep the lead. 91 was still first on the time sheet, but no, Weishart going to stretch the fuel as far as he can go and try to take the least amount of fuel that he has to. Ref slate won't really help his case, though, being in front of him, just going to lose him more time. Kind of surprised by the 91 hitting there. I thought he could go a little bit further, but he knows more about his fuel load than I do, as Curhan's actually going to come out in front of the 70 of Valentino. So that's what going long will get you. Get him another spot there, put him effectively in the third position when the 33 hits.
And if anything happens to the front two with lap traffic, we've seen that become a factor multiple times throughout the initial run before pitting. Then that could put the 24 and the 70 in the catbird seat. I mean, although they are quite a bit ways behind the front two, well, after Weishart pits, they'll cycle to the front two. It could open the door for the 24 and the 70 to close in, but for the time being, Weishart's still the leader. I think he's going to come down pit road this time by.
Indeed, as he'll be one of the last few guys to come on down. Still waiting on Matthew Bell and Seth Noel, as well as Alex Weaver down the order, and Andrew Player, only guys that have yet to come in for their stop here. And you can see there's Jake Nichols working his way through the hairpin. He's going to reclaim the lead, and as we mentioned, it's going to be pretty much as it continued before. James Scioli chasing down the 91, although this time a little bit of a gap between the two.
Saying Seth Noel and Bell still need to pit. They're only 4.5 seconds apart. I'm sure the one hasn't forgotten about how he got behind the 9 of Matthew Bell, so we'll see what happens with that when they come down the pit road and probably get closer to each other. It'd be interesting, this race to the end. Scioli, maybe not the better tires because he didn't go as long on his tires. I think Nichols has a pretty good advantage. Eric, what do you have?
Big development for the 33. He just lost probably about 5 spots worth on track. He forgot to uncheck his tires on the pit stop. Terrible scream on the radio for David. Oh no, I forgot to uncheck tires. He took 4 tires, 15 seconds stationary in the box, which is double the length of everybody else. Easily lost about 3 to, I'd call it 3 positions on track. He's gonna have to try to make up here for the end of the race.
Wow, that is a big development indeed. And tires did mention that they were not going to be too much of a concern. That's why everyone has done splash and go, but it will give us a little insight as to what happens if you do take tires. But obviously they're still cold, as you're watching on board the 33 with Beckner all over his bumper. Tires take a while to get up to speed, and and Beckner's going to make contact with him. So the 33 still trying to get those tires warmed up, and Beckner not really sure what to do with his hands right there, because then he made contact with Weishart.
Yeah, Beckner getting the elbows out here in the later laps here. Going to muscle his way past the 33, so pedestrian job done for the 28. He's able to get on by. So we're seeing Weishart, he's starting to struggle here to turn these tires on. I think if he was one of those guys that came in earlier, had he made the same mistake, it wouldn't be that bad, because he would have had some laps to get some heat in them and then bring them back up, and might have been able to make at least a little bit out of it. But I think here he's going to really struggle these last few laps of the race.
Yeah, not only is it bad, you give up so much time taking 4 full tires.
Right, you can see him so sideways.
You can see him giving up. He gave 10 seconds, lost 10 seconds maybe on pit stops just taking tires. But those tires are slower because, as we're talking about, they're cold tires. They're not up to temperature. He's going to have a big struggle to the end, as you were talking about, to finish this race in a top 10 spot, because Ricky Springer, who's one of those early hitters, has tires in much better condition than that 33 now.
Right on board the 18 of Springer here. This is the get inside the top 10, currently held by David Weishart, still struggling to get those tires up to speed. I think once they do, 33 will be just fine. But yeah, that is a race killer right there, to have tires still on your pit stop. And here comes Springer down to the inside in the hairpin, and Weishart gonna lock him up a bit, and the 18's gonna scoot right on by.
18 playing chicken with the 33 and ended up winning that scenario. Seth Noel finally just came down to get his stop out of the way, and Bell, he's really running the tank out. He's still out on the track, has yet to make his final stop of the race. Can't imagine it's going to be too much longer for him, because he's getting very close to running out of gas, and that would be interesting to have a car just running out of gas. That could be potentially hazardous.
Yeah, if he runs out of gas, better find a safe place to go off. But I can't imagine he can stretch his fuel that much farther than anyone else. We'll have to see. He's in 5th position now, but even though he's in 5th, he has a big gap to 6th place, about 17 seconds worth. So he might not even drop out of a top 10 here as the
Little
9 does
hot.
come in. Watch that outside wall. Haven't seen any pit entry incidents, which is something that can easily happen with a tight pit entry like this.
There's a gap back to Aaron Smith. Sorry, Hunter?
I was going to say, Bell's probably going to shuffle around right in the middle of Hartz and Beckner here, so I would look for him to come out 7th on the track. If all goes well. That's if all goes well.
Looking at Aaron Smith, it's been a decent recovery for him. Obviously not as good as it could have been. We saw him up there in the top 5 battling for the lead, had that earlier spin, and looks like he's been able to recover pretty well back inside the top 5 as he just gets past Matthew Bell in pit lane.
All did not go well because now he is sitting on the cusp of the top, well, actually in the top 10, but a little bit of a longer stop there for the 9. I don't know if he took tires or
Did not.
Huh.
Only fuel, and he's got David Weiser up the road, who we've seen has been struggling, so he might have a chance to get to 33. Whoa. David Weiser gets a little bit of grass there and goes all sorts of sideways. And just trying to hang on here for what he can just to try to maintain inside the top 10.
Get under the 77 of Jacob Bell. Bell struggling a little bit. Say struggling, but still top 20 a lap down as we have at least 17 drivers on the lap. I think that at least maybe 15.
15
drivers down. It hits now. I don't know if that was scheduled or a mistake, but either way, back up to the front. The lead battle rages on. Nichols was getting caught by the 7 a little bit. Lap before, he pulled 2/10 on the 7. Then last lap, the Scioli got those 2/10 back. So kind of a back and forth sort of battle as we close in on about 5.5 laps to go.
Yeah, now if you're Scioli, well, what's really left to do, Hunter? I mean, you're coming down to the later stages. You already made the pit stop, so the strategy aspect has kind of gone out the window. So what can you do if you're in Scioli's position?
I just hope that the 91 can make a mistake, and we've seen multiple times before. He sends it into that hairpin to make up some ground, and there's a car off the track there. Maybe that's the break he needed. Maybe that slowed down the 91 just enough. That was Alante Ballard in the 21, teammate to the 91. Boy, we've seen his teammates off the track quite a bit tonight, but you know, maybe that could open the door for the 7 to close in. Still about 6 car lanes separating the top 2 as they cross the stripe. 5 laps to go, and as mentioned, 15 cars currently on the lead lap. Rafe Slate is the last one, and the leaders are slowly catching them. And if you remember, the poll question was the poll question for tonight's race was how many drivers will finish on the lead lap, over under 14.5. And we had a toss-up, about 50-50 split, with people who chose the under, aka me, and others who chose over. So this is a very crucial spot here because you could either lose all your channel points if you wagered all your channel points, or this could be a big time for you in the chat to gain some channel points. So it's very close here. 5 laps left.
And sorry to cut you off. I think I just was decided. Greg Mitchell, looks like we've lost Greg Mitchell. I think he's disconnected. So that automatically puts us at only 14 on the lead lap.
Oh, well, forget everything I just said. And the under might win. We're closing in on the end of the race, but the under might come home with the win for those that bet the under in the chat, aka me. As they're crossing the stripe with 4 to go, fans, be sure to check out areiiracing.shop for merchandise to represent your favorite driver. Shop from our selection of t-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, stickers, and much more, possibly shower curtains over there, courtesy of James Shane Wolf. New merch is coming out, folks, so be sure to check out areiiracing.shop.
As you mentioned, coming down in the closing laps, 4 laps to go. Scully trying to chase down the 91 Nichols. You see him flying through the screen there. Kerman Ballachino, that battle somewhat sorted out. Still close between those two. And not too many other battles going on around on the track. The 22 and the 1 is Seth Noel are pretty close, but not as close as the leaders at the moment. Want to keep an eye on this because you can imagine that something's bound to happen in these closing laps. It always typically does, especially with some lap cars getting in the way here in the S's. It's so hard to get by.
Eric, what do you got?
Hey guys, if David Weishart can get his tires back underneath him and he can catch Travis Beckner, he's not a happy camper, and there may be some fireworks. Listen in.
I'm not going to get back to Travis, but if I get back to Travis, he's going to get sent.
33 not happy with the way the 28 raced him, but downside is David is not happy that with himself that he accidentally took tires, because he does not think he will get back to the 28 before the end of the race. The difference between them just over 6 seconds. Meanwhile, we continue to watch this battle up front between the 91 and 7. Pretty much the best battle on track, guys.
Yeah, looking right there, you just saw at the back, 9 of Matthew Bell also coming in close to the 33. So David's probably going to have to worry more about Matthew Bell than Beckner at the moment.
Man, the Bell's the one who's been using the chrome horn today, as we've seen in that hairpin, but 9 hasn't really been going too hard into the hairpin. He's gotten close into the hairpin on Weishart, but just hasn't been able to execute any sort of move there. And Weishart obviously driving angry. I didn't really think that was fully on the 28. The 28 came over a little bit, but 33 was kind of weaving. It's kind of how racing goes sometimes, but I can understand the 33's frustration with a mistake that dropped him well down the
Speaking of mistake, the 91 is not making any mistakes just yet. Half-second gap between Jake Nichols and James Guiley. Heading into the closing stages of tonight's Wine Country 100 here for race 3 of the Area Cup Series over at Sonoma. It's been virtually these two bumper to bumper all night long. We've got just 2 laps left to settle out who will win tonight's race.
You see right there, Bell almost got past the 33, just had a cut by. He just made the pass on the far side of the track, is trying to chase down the 33 again. We saw right here is where the 33 and Beckner made some contact. Now Weishart, can he defend from Bell, who might have a decent run to the hairpin?
Don't think he's going to have enough unless he wants to dive. 33 is placing his car in a place where the 9 probably doesn't really know where to go. Gonna run Bell a little bit wide there and get the better run on exit.
Ooh.
Onto the front
Oh,
straight.
Scioli might have gone a little sideways here.
Oh yeah, he lost a lot of time to Jake Nichols.
Taking a look at Simrap Market replay. Coming through, we've seen this corner catch a lot of guys out. Oh, just too much curb and a little bit of wall.
Wow.
That's gonna decide it right there. That's gonna give Jake Nichols all the room he needs to kind of conserve his car to the end here. Doesn't need to push the issue passing some lap cars now. He has plenty of time on the second.
I was like, speaking of issue, this battle for third is about to be an issue for Michael Curran. If he can hold on for one more lap, Valentino closing in. The leader takes the white flag. One final time around Sonoma for Jake Nichols, and now the battle for third heats up into down the front stretch and into turn 1 for the final time.
Yeah, it's starting to get spicy here as the battle for the lead died down. This battle heating up here, and Scott actually not too far up the road here. I think he should be clear of these guys, but we'll see if Valentino does anything for the 24 here with just half a lap to go.
It's going to have to be either into turn 7 or into the hairpin. There's really no other spot left to do it. Curhan's got to be pretty clean over these curbs. Scioli needs to as well. Can't make another mistake like that. Curhan's clean, didn't push the issue. Valentino, if he wants to dive, he can, but not close enough to do it without risking big incident. 91, meanwhile, lap car Raph Slate not letting him by yet. Slate trying to finish on the lead lap. 91 getting held up a little bit here. I think the 8's finally going to give way.
Yeah, as Nichols works his way on through the final few corners, you could say it's pretty much been domination from the 91. He had the 7 close and behind him, but he's led 42, and when he gets back across the line here, if he can make it through the hairpin, okay, it'll be 43 laps led of 45. Domination for the 91 of Jake Nichols as he comes out of here. Your winner at Sonoma. Fantastic job done. Skyler going to limp that car home just in behind to second place after getting some late race damage. Valentino will get the pass done on Curran in the final corner. We'll try to take a look at that after the race gets it done in the hairpin. Curran got to settle for 4th place. Aaron Smith in 5th. Ryan Hartz, Travis Beckner 6th and 7th.
And here comes the battle for 9th. Coming into the hairpin.
That's going to be tight.
Oh, Weishart, big block. Bell's going to send it up the inside. He's going to be there. Lap car Weaver in the way. Bell's going to have the line. I think that's the job done, but he got sideways. It's going to be a drag race now.
33 going to have the inside line. 9 going to have the outside, and Weishart, after contact from the 9 of Matthew Bell, ends up getting the spot back. Boy, big break there for the 33. Every point matters.
Indeed, every point matters, especially after the mistake in pit lane to get the taking tires. Unfortunate mistake, gonna cost him some positions, but at least was able to get one back. Here's a look at Jake Nichols working his way back to the start-finish line. You can say it's been a very good day for Solo Fair Racing, at least up at the front of the field.
I wonder if Seth Noel is going to have a little bit of a chat with Matthew Bell. I think he's going to go see him. They're both going to park. Yep, he just shoves him into the tire barriers on the exit of turn 4. So Noel definitely remembered that contact in the hairpin, and it got Bell. And it didn't even really... Bell got the position, but not much more than that. They finished nose to tail in the order, 10th and 11th.
Well, Jake Nichols picking up right where he left off with another win on the season. This makes it 2 in a row. First one on the road course in season 3, and he's led. Oh, here's Delonte Ballard, his teammate, nearly getting into him, trying to do burnouts. But his teammates have been all over the place tonight, even as he's trying to celebrate his second win of the season.
Yeah, Delonte Ballard, actually, I think that was the 4th time he's been around his teammate, almost hitting him at some point during this race. But as you mentioned, no, but Jake Nichols getting it done here. Nice burnout. You can tell he's had a lot of practice here. He's burning it down just parallel to the dragway.
David Weishart had a full throttle run at Travis Beckner on pit road.
Oh, there's his teammate.
There is his teammate, yeah. Weishart had a run at the 28 on pit road, but no contact happened as Nichols deservingly does burnouts. He had the 7 on his tail, as we were talking about, but he dominated this race all night and made the right pit strategy to go along with it.
Take a look here at your replay here. Just try to see if we can catch the finish between let's see, the 24 and the 70 here. Try to find that, but a really solid run to the end of that race there, guys.
Yeah, that was a pretty good run. I thought the 7 was going to have at least one look to the end of the race there, but you could tell he was getting a little bit desperate. Scioli was trying to get everything he could over those curbs. And that turn 4 curb, we saw it bite people earlier in the race, and it finally bit one of the front runners. Just a little bit too much throttle over those curbs, and that'll do it for you. Scioli, that was his last-ditch effort to try to get to the bumper, or at least a passing attempt on the 91 of Jake Nichols. Couldn't pull it off.
Here's a look at the replay heading down to the final corner. Battle for 3rd place between Ballacino and the 24. A lockup from the 24. And all it needed just a little bit of a shove from the 70 there.
Yeah, just a little bit too much of a mistake for Curhan. Had good strategy to get to the top 3 position, but couldn't hold on to it, as we'll see the hairpin. The 70 definitely sent it in there. Definitely locked it up, but 70 went for it, and he got it. He got exactly what he needed, put the 24 off his game, made him defend too late, and he was able to make it work. Balancino, pretty smart move there to sort of scare the 24 into that move.
Yeah, we'll go over your race results here. As you mentioned, Jake Nichols with a tight battle with James Scioli all the way through these 45 laps. Unfortunately, wasn't quite able to get up there. Just going to finish just over a second in behind. Ballacino currently, we saw that fantastic battle for 3rd place. Finished with Ballacino just getting past the 24 in the final few corners. Aaron Smith, right, with a good recovery from him. The 3 of Reinhardt. It's fairly quiet race out of 3. Haven't really mentioned a whole lot out of him. And again, we mentioned some of those days. Sometimes those days are the best. Travis Beckner finishing in 7th, Springer in 8th, Weishart in 9th with his recovery drive from that pit road mistake, with Bell finishing down in 10th.
Yeah, really good job for Bell to hold on to the top 10 there at least. Seth Noel, who Bell had contact with, finishes 6 seconds behind him in 11th. DeLeo, Poole, Slate, a few of the guys who kind of struggled to get things going. Pit strategy didn't go the best for them, excuse me. Slate was the first car 1 lap down. JT Poole, the last driver to lead lap. Shane Abbey, who we saw have issues. Pit lap 1, remember. The 12th pit lap 1 and finishes 15th. That's a really strong drive for that 12 machine. Chris Rabel, Alex Weaver, Dwayne Culberson, Ed Robertson, Jacob Bell rounding out the top 20. Pretty close battle for the 18th position. Culberson, Robertson, Bell separated by only about 2 seconds.
And moving back for our next page of drivers, Jordan Martin, Sturgill, Senizek. Senizek, we weren't even sure if he took the grid or not, and ended up finishing home in 23rd. Believe started from pit lane. Player, Grant, Nichols, Ballard. Delonte Ballard, he's been up and down the order. He's had quite an interesting day. Ended up finishing a couple laps down, and then quite a few retirements there. We mentioned earlier there weren't too many retirements earlier on, but as the race went on, started to see more attrition with Mitchell's retiring to the internet. Brandon Six, you mentioned getting in the wall. Bronson Stafford retiring in 30th.
And a few more retirements. Tom Bourne was the first one out with a big crash up the hill. Jonathan Cogswell, I think, parked it, almost got into a few of the leaders. going down the up. Blake Beverly, Mark Patterson, a few incidents there. The 45, Poseidon Faden, Jeff Ryan, Douglas Newpick, Danny Ware, all drivers who couldn't see this one out to the end today.
Indeed, and as we cut through those last few drivers, let's drag in our first driver. The first driver will interview him, and didn't realize you were going to be interviewed until the last few corners. Alan, you just managed to squeeze your way past the 24. How did you manage to pull that off?
I'm not exactly sure. I was aiming for him. I wasn't really aiming for him. I was just like, oh man, I hope he, hopefully he doesn't like outbreak himself, and he kind of did there. Just kind of happened. I was going for it, man. I was going for that P3 at any cost possible.
Yeah, we saw. I imagine you're trying to go for the race when you were there pretty much 3 to 4 seconds back from the leaders, or within 3 to 4 seconds back from the leaders the entirety of the race. Anything, looking back, do you think you could have tried to do something to get ahead of the 91 and the 7, or do you think they were just that much faster today?
We were all so on top of each other on pace. I think the only thing I could have done was taken less fuel on that stop, and it might have like closed the gap to like 1 or 2 seconds, but it was just so competitive up there. Those guys, and Michael too, are just crazy at road racing. It's nuts. It's so competitive. One of the toughest races I've had in a while.
I can imagine 45 laps straight with no break, no caution to separate things out. Alan, it was a fantastic run for you, up in third. Congratulations and best of luck for the rest of the season.
Thanks. I'd like to give Fazekas and NIA, DeLeo Graham, and Magyar Bank and Eat Sleep Race a shout out as well.
All right, yeah. Alan. With that, thanks for talking to us. Moving on to our second place finisher, James Scully. James, you were chasing down Nichols the entirety of the race. Unfortunately, you weren't quite able to get past there in the end.
Yeah, hopefully it was a fun race to watch. It's this car is just so hard to pass in. It gets such a good run out of the corner that it makes it hard to get a run on somebody going into a corner to where you can outbrake them or something. And Sonoma's always a notoriously difficult place to pass, so I was just trying to kind of hang with him through the first sector of the lap, and then I was really good through the second sector and was hoping maybe on the last lap that I would have been able to bump him out the way or something. I think that was the only option that I had to make the pass, but wasn't meant to be. Made a mistake there with 2 to go, and then after I saw a lap car was kind of holding him up, so I'm kind of glad that I didn't win that way. But all in all, it was a fun race. It was fun. It was fun being there, fun having a chance. Just hurts, and I made a pretty big mistake in qualifying, so I think if I could have qualified on pole, I would have definitely had a much better chance there.
Yeah, and actually we saw the mistake happen. We saw that going over the curbs. We saw that being a bit of an issue for a lot of the other drivers through the field. Were you purposely trying to avoid the curbs, or were you just kind of taking them as you go?
Some of them you really do have to avoid. Some of them, like in that right-hander where the wall kind of sticks out and you just barely miss it, that one you definitely can't hit on the inside. But other ones, like the one that I hit in qualifying, that's right where I wanted to hit it. It's just sometimes in this next-gen car, you hit it where you think you want to, and it throws you one way, and then you hit it the same the next lap, and it's right where you want it to be. So just kind of a tough balance. This car is pretty tough at these road courses. You just have to hustle the whole time. You don't take tires. You just get faster and faster as the fuel loads go down. We were 0.7 of a second faster than our qualifying laps there at the end of the race. So definitely a fun one. Definitely a tough race.
Yeah, definitely tough race, but a very solid race for you, James, in the number 7. Thanks for talking to us.
Yeah, thank you guys. I want to say a big thanks to Butt Kicker, Dandles Candles, Matt Cotulos, Chris Sports Cards for all being on the car, and then big thanks to the admin team for letting us do this. And you guys have been killing it with the broadcast, especially Eric coming in with the pit reporting and stuff. It's been pretty cool. So thank you guys for all that.
Yeah, no problem. And with that, we'll cut to our race winner, the 91 of Jake Nichols. Jake, we saw you get out there. You led 43 of the 45 laps, although I imagine looking in your mirror the entire time, it wasn't easy.
Oh, yeah, it was not easy. Usually these are tough races, the road courses here. You have a few guys that are stout, really stout, and today was something else. I had to be on my toes the entire race, especially this year compared to last season. For the road courses, we had a full field. So we're entering lap traffic. Also add in the no caution this season either, no competition yellow. It's just constant traffic. You gotta pick your way through while also keeping an eye on the fast guys behind you. But Man, our Solar Flare Racing Toyota Camry's on rails, and I'm glad things turned out pretty well for us. We had a few miscues there, here and there, but our strategy was waiting until James pitted there, worked to a T. So overall, a pretty good night for us.
Indeed, really good. And also just curious about with the fuel strategy that you guys were playing, or at least as far as when you guys were coming into pit. Was there a reason you didn't come in immediately as soon as the 70 and the 7 came in, or did you just have your own fixed number and you're planning on just waiting it out?
Yeah, I didn't really have any idea of exactly when. The plan was just to make sure if they pitted first, if they were going to be in traffic or not, because if I could make up that time just staying out and clear track, then I felt like that was the move. And thankfully we had, I think, clear track for a lap or two and then pitted, so that worked out perfect for us. But yeah, there was no real plan other than just filling up to a gallon or so extra from what we needed to go to the checkered, but especially with not having to take tires because there was just no fall off or anything. So it was pretty much just a waiting game just to make sure we got clear track and could stay ahead of those guys, because they were also on rails tonight. It was a show, that's for sure.
Indeed, Jake, you guys out there definitely did put on a show. Thanks for talking to us.
Thank you.
All right, and with that, it's gonna wrap up interviews here from Sonoma. Guys, final thoughts?
Just a really solid race. Something I was kind of skeptical, I'll be honest. Sonoma, in the past, it's kind of gotten pretty strung out, even with the leaders it has, but all through the field, we had really great battles, compelling battles, some physical racing at times, but overall, really solid racecraft from a lot of these drivers. The battle with the 91 and 7 reminded me of those battles back with Chase Elliott and Martin Truex Jr. over on the East Coast at Watkins Glen. Those two reminded me of that nose to tail with no one really blinking an eye until that second to last lap where Scioli made a critical mistake, lost his chance at any attempt for the win. So really awesome battle between those two especially, and congrats to Jake Nichols, another key win for this season that he's had so far. Great start to the year for him.
Hunter?
I think Hunter had to take, I think he
Leave.
had to take
Yeah,
stepped away.
Yeah, I thought he'd be back by now, but it looks like he's still away. Well, Eric, since we have you, Eric, your final thoughts?
Yeah, just an incredible set of skills for a lot of guys out here, but especially those top 4 that just kind of drove away with the race. And it would have been interesting to see if that would have been different with Aaron Smith the second there, if he was able to avoid mistakes to stay up with them. But definitely showed the prowess on the road courses. But these guys are going to be happy to get back to an oval coming up next week. So no surprise, Jake Nichols is your winner, but I'm excited to see Iowa in a week's time and how the worn out surface there can play on these tires. These guys will definitely be stopping for 4 tires as they come down pit road. So good to see a lot more action down from my end, but no surprise, Jake Nichols is your winner. James Scioli right there with them.
Yeah, and speaking of the calendar coming up, tomorrow night we're going to be here with the trucks at the Sonoma, same track layout. Then on Thursday we're going to be heading to Mid-Ohio with the Area Lodge Box Series, so tune into that. And then, as we mentioned, back to the ovals next week. All 3 series heading to Iowa. Iowa, also another track that loves to put on a fantastic show. But from here, from us at Sim TV, we're going to be signing out here from Sonoma. So thank you for watching.